Meanwhile, the president of the United States' Twitter rage didn't end there. He also decided to go off on tariffs. Now, there's been this great debate that has broken out amongst folks on the right as to whether Trump is legitimately a fan of tariffs or whether he is not. The answer is he is legitimately a fan of tariffs. The president likes to signal on the one hand that he wants to lower all tariffs to zero, and on the other hand that he likes tariffs. The lower tariffs to zero argument is actually not the one coming from President Trump's heart. The reason I know this is because if you look at President Trump's rhetoric over the last legitimately 35 years, he has always been in favor of high trade barriers and protectionism. He's a fan of high trade barriers and protectionism. And he tweeted out his fanhood for tariffs over the weekend. He tweeted out, "Tariffs are working big time. Every country on earth wants to take wealth out of the U.S., always to our detriment. I say, as they come, tax them. If they don't want to be taxed, let them make or build the product in the U.S. In either event, it means jobs and great wealth." And they continued along these lines. "Because of the tariffs, we will be able to start paying down large amounts of the $21 trillion in debt that has been accumulated, much by the Obama administration, while at the same time reducing taxes for our people. At minimum, we'll make much better trade deals for our country." Okay, there are so many things wrong with these tweets just on an economic level that it's hard to describe all of them. Let's begin with the idea that the quote-unquote tariffs are working big time. There's no evidence that the tariffs are working big time. The only thing they are doing is actually directing American business out of the country. He says that every country on earth wants to take wealth out of the United States, always to our detriment. Me buying a product from a foreign company at a cheaper price is not me being victimized by that company. That is silly towns. And that company has to reinvest in the United States, which is why some of the biggest automakers in the United States are Toyota and Honda, as well as BMW, by the way. And then he says, as they come, tax them. If they don't want to be taxed, let them make or build the product in the U.S. In either event, it means jobs and great wealth. No, it does not. It does not mean jobs and great wealth to tax the American people by charging them higher prices for the goods that they wish to buy. And then he continues with the falsehoods here. I mean, this is not even economically literate. He says, because of tariffs, we will be able to start paying down large amounts of the $21 trillion in debt that has been accumulated. Okay, in order for that to be true, what he basically has to be saying is the amount of taxes that we take off of foreign products, right, by raising the price and then we tax a product as it comes in, we're going to take all that money and we're going to pay it back to pay down the debt. The problem is, of course, that when you lower the economic growth in a society, which is what tariffs also do, you take in less income tax and less sales tax. So there's no evidence that tariffs are going to outweigh the economic impact of the tariffs in terms of paying down the debt. Also worth noting, President Trump has blown out the deficit. Now, I know that we're all supposed to pretend that this has been a fiscally responsible administration. This has not been a fiscally responsible administration. I like a lot of their monetary policy. I like the tax cuts. I like the regulatory policy. They are blowing out the spending. The deficit is actually increasing at a higher rate than it did in the last years of Obama. Okay, so this talk about Donald Trump being some sort of deficit hawk is just ridiculous. And when he finally says that this reduces taxes for our people, tariffs are literally a tax. It does not reduce taxes on Americans to make them pay more for products. Tariffs are literally a tax on the American people. So none of this makes any sense at all. And again, it betrays what the president actually thinks. Now, there are people who say, well, this is going to come out in Trump's favor because the fact that he speaks so warmly of tariffs means that other countries are going to be afraid that he will use them, and then they will lower their own tariffs. Okay, well, if they come out that way, then great. But I don't think that that's part of Trump's strategy. I also don't think that that's necessary in order to get other countries to lower their tariffs. In fact, one of the best ways to get other countries to lower their tariffs is to lower your own tariffs. Because when you lower your own tariffs, what you're actually doing is you are making it easier for your own companies to produce advanced products with the importation of cheaper products from abroad. So let's say we lower our tariffs against foreign steel. Yes, it hurts the domestic steel industry, but it sure as hell helps the American car industry. The American car industry becomes a global leader because suddenly it's a lot cheaper to produce that car. When you import cheap products into the United States, I now save money that I can use to invest in workers here at the Daily Wire. Right? That sort of thing is how economics works. The fact that President Trump is tweeting about all of this, it's just not particularly, it's not good stuff. Again, Mr. President, if you would just go to a basement for 2 years and turn off your phone and watch just replays of Shark Week all the time, you would be at 55% in the approval ratings. You would win re-election easily. What I don't like is the fact that all of this is happening, and it's obvious it's having an impact on down-ballot races. If Congress goes the wrong way in 2018, and we hear the revisionist history about how it's the fault of the media, or about how it had nothing to do with Trump, or about how it was Democrat lies, or all the rest of this stuff. Listen, there are a few factors that are always consistent in American politics. The media are to the left, and Democrats lie. All of this is true. But the one factor that has changed, and that is undermining a lot of popularity for Republicans in swing districts, is the fact that the president creates this feeling of chaos and then he tweets out silly things at a ridiculous rate. That needs to stop. If you really want the president to do well, you should be rooting for him to stop all of this.